The princess who should have been queen, Princess Charlotte of Wales. Princess Charlotte of Wales was born into one of the most powerful nations in the Western world, and it was her destiny to inherit it. She was the precious daughter of King George IV, and she was known for her beauty, impeccable manners, but outspoken nature, as well as having a totally scandalous personal life. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. This young woman suffered great tragedy, and the public was shocked into mourning when she suddenly died. As all royals, she entered the world surrounded by opulent wealth in the Carlton House in London on the 7th of January 1796. Princess Charlotte's mother was Caroline of Brunswick, who was also the wife of Prince George, who was the heir to the throne after King George III, meaning her parents would one day be king and queen. However, behind the fairy tale facade was a dark secret. Her parents were not keen on each other at all. They were able to have Charlotte after a quick royal agreement took place on their wedding night. And exactly 9 months after, in fact, Princess Charlotte was born. Many royal parents in this situation would be able to put their differences aside for their children, but her parents were not one of those. Charlotte's father was not the epitome of a good father. He was well known for being a heavy drinker and gambler. His priorities were elsewhere from his family, and he even made the most devastating change to his will, only 3 days after little Charlotte was born. George changed his will, leaving almost all of his money to his mistress and giving only a shilling to Charlotte's mother. This would not be the last betrayal on his own family. Prince George made his feelings very clear towards his child's mother, and even went as far as to forbid the woman from spending time with her own child, without a member of the household staff being present. And for a long time she was only allowed to see Charlotte when a nurse or other staff member was there. This made it difficult for her to have a good relationship with her mother, as she was only able to see her once a day, making her relationship with her parents difficult and complex. Her mother was not a wilting flower and made sure not to lay down and die amongst the chaos that George brought to her life. These fiery encounters left Charlotte often in the middle of their rows, with Charlotte serving as a pawn for both of her parents. Her mother would make a point to take her away for public carriage rides in an attempt to gain support for herself. It was this dysfunctional behaviour that led to Charlotte's rebellious side coming out, and her habits became increasingly reckless. The court was prim and proper, and they often disapproved of her antics, and she was perceived as having happy recklessness. She was a tomboy of sorts who had an interest in horse riding as well as play fighting with her playmates. Her parents' feuds continued to simmer until they reached boiling point. When she reached 10 years old, her father, Prince George, started rumours against her mother that she had been unfaithful, resulting in a love child. He was able to use these accusations to completely ban Caroline from seeing her own daughter at all, and these had devastating consequences. Caroline had finally gotten to the point where she was fearful of her estranged husband's next move, so much so that when Charlotte saw her mother out in public one day, Caroline completely snubbed her, pretending not to see her at all. Charlotte was devastated, and this only activated her rebellious streak further. During her teenage years, she made rebellious fashion choices that riled up the courtiers and led to many complaints about her ankle-length underdrawers, but Charlotte remained unfazed. Charlotte was typically beautiful for the time, and by the age of 15, she was already turning heads. She used her tomboy style to bolster her confidence alongside her ability to be very upfront and frank with people. Once her father had completely destroyed her mother, he set his sights on his own daughter. His first attempt to suppress her was to take away her financial stability, not even allowing her to afford the fashion of a high-flying royal of the times. He was becoming increasingly controlling, even demanding strange protocols on her when she attended the opera. He demanded that she avoid prying crowds by sitting in the very back of the royal box and always leaving early. When Charlotte wasn't hiding herself away in plain sight, Prince George insisted that she stay at Windsor Castle with her spinster aunts. Just what every beautiful 15-year-old girl wants, so you can bet that Charlotte got her revenge. Join me in part 2 to look at how her rebellious nature spiraled and how she took revenge on her ever-prying father. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. Please comment, like and subscribe if you wish for more stories, and leave your suggestions below and I will endeavour to cover them.